Hey everybody, today I'm transplanting some milkweed. I've got 3 varieties I'm transplanting, and so I'm going to show you my approach for each of them. I've got swamp milkweed, I've got common milkweed, and I also have some butterfly milkweed, and those are babies, so we'll see how that goes. All right, let's start with some swamp milkweed. This is a swamp milkweed plant with the stalks from last year. We've got some new growth, super cool. We've got some new growth coming in right here. All right, to dig this plant up, I'm going to give it a radius of maybe 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches. That'll get most of the roots. And I'm just going to go in gently, break through. Oh, and it's coming right up. Here we go. Okay. Now when I lift up, I can see here's my roots. Now it just rained here a ton. And so these roots are coming away from the soil really easy. I'm going to just pull this section up, being very careful. Okay, now I will shake it off so you can see what we're dealing with here. As you can see, the top of the root base, the crown, was just under the soil. I'm going to leave it in that position as I plant it in its new location. So here we go. All right, so for transplanting this swamp milkweed, my suggestion is make sure you've got a hole plenty wide for those roots so that they can spread out in the space. This is a pretty wide root profile, and so I'm going to move some of this soil out of the way. I am going to want this plant to sit with that crown just at the soil surface, and that's going to be a great spot for it. And so from here, I just want to make sure to get in between the nooks and crannies of these roots, get them down below the soil surface so they have the most advantageous spot to take in water and nutrients from the soil. I like it that these shoots, these new shoots, are just above the soil surface here. I can give it a gentle pack down, and man, this plant will do the rest. It's ready to rock. For transplanting common milkweed, you'd think it'd be similar to the swamp milkweed. It's actually totally different. Common milkweed propagates in a much different way. And so when I'm digging in my soil, if you were looking for swamp milkweed, you would know that you'd kind of have a finite space where you found those roots. Common milkweed is not the same. I want you to check this out. Take a look at what we have here. Yeah, these roots are kind of hairy like the swamp milkweed, but that looks much different. Now, in common milkweed, you have roots that work in a lot different fashion. They will just keep running. They're not going to stick close by their shoot. They're going to keep running, and they're going to continue to propagate. And this is a good example. We have a root right here that's coming off of this primary piece of root, and there's a shoot. And as a matter of fact, we have a shoot here, and then you go down a little further, we've got a shoot there. Here's our plant. Notice those stalks come out a lot thicker. Multiple stalks. You have stalks on different runs. Now I'm going to plant this, like the swamp milkweed, I'm going to plant this thing, just spreading those roots out so they have plenty of space, and this plant will continue to grow, continue to propagate itself through root propagation, and it's going to be a perfect plant for the monarchs that I love to come lay their eggs on. Similar situation with our swamp milkweed. We're just going to take out a space in here, make some room for these roots, and I'm going to plant this thing so that those shoots, like in the other bed, are just a little above ground. All right, there you go. So when finished with the transplant, your roots are going to be buried in the soil. You're also going to have those stalks, if you can, popping up out of that soil if that's where they were when you got them. And so this plant is going to continue to make roots that turn into runners that allow additional shoots to come up and just continue to make more plants. Okay, so here we have my 3rd milkweed type here in my garden. This is butterfly milkweed, or butterfly weed, and again, I'm a little late. It's only April 2nd, but man, these plants have started moving. They're ahead of schedule. I'm once again going to dig these out so that you can see the roots and show you how I would transplant these type of milkweed. Okay, so I'm going very slow, very carefully. I'm coming out farther than I think, and I'm just going to dig deep and try not to break any of those underground structures on these plants. I'm going to bring it up gently. The recent rains make it a little easier to get them away from the soil. Okay, here's what I have. can see, and like I said, these came from seed just last year, so these are baby plants. I'm going to pull this stuff away gently just so that we can see the roots. These are fragile roots. Now this is going to remind you more of the swamp milkweed. We're going to have an individual set of roots here that all come together, and there's going to be kind of this, I don't know, this kind of bulge of a root in the center. That's it. We're going to transplant this one. Okay, same story as the last types of milkweed here, that I'm going to dig deep enough into my planting space that the roots are buried, but I want those stalks to be above the surface. Now you can see that the stalks are white at the bottom and then green. Where they are green, that means they were able to receive sunlight. We're seeing evidence of chloroplasts being made in those cells, and so I want to make sure the green, if possible, is above the soil level and everything else below. I want to make sure not to compact too much, give them a chance to thrive. And I'm going to bring that soil level up, give it a gentle pat down. Now these are baby plants, and so we're looking at very tender shoots here, very small shoots, but they're right there. We're going to get more rain this week, so I'm not worried about the dirt that may be attached to those shoots. It's going to get washed off, and hopefully these will get watered in really well. Anyway, there it is, milkweed transplant with swamp, common, and butterfly milkweed. And this is going to be an awesome milkweed bed for the monarchs. This is going to be an awesome monarch way station.